So, welcome to the Analyze MyMachine condition commissioning tutorial. My name is Jan Bartosz, and in this video I will show you how to install and use the Analyze MyMachine condition application. So, we start in the MindSphere Launchpad, but before we go to the app management, please note that we have here a completely prepared SINUMERIK edge. This means that the onboarding process, the installation of the basic applications and the basic commissioning on the NCU is already done. If this is not yet the case for you, please have a look at the videos of Robert on this topic. The links to these videos can be found in the video description. Okay, then let's move to the app management. So, here you first select the device on which you want to install the application. As you can see, the applications, adapter framework, SINUMERIK adapter and Samba server, which are necessary for condition, are already installed, and we can install our application via the button plus new application. And now we see a list of the available application appears, and we select the application Analyze MyMachine condition. You can see here some versions of the application, and we select here the newest version. This is version 2.1.6-15 at the time of recording the video. Then we accept the terms and conditions and click on Save. Now the application will be downloaded to our edge device, and you can also watch this under Jobs and App Installation. And when we make here a refresh, we see the status downloading. The download and the activation of the application takes a moment. So I have speed up the video a little here. So the download is complete and we can install the application. This, click on Install and confirm the dialog. Before we start the application via the play button, we have to configure it. To do this, we click on the gear icon and the configuration parts opens. For an easier configuration, I always switch to the code view and copy the content to the Notepad++ editor. The important part in the configuration for us is the data source config and there the subscription service. Here we specify which variables we want to subscribe from the data bus. As you can see, the values for enc1_pos for actual position of the first encoder, enc2_pos for the actual position of the second encoder, the torque, and the des_pos for the commanded position are already entered here by default. The application needs this for the calculation of the various measurement characteristics. The principle here is always the variable name, then a pipe, and then the index from the axis. To find out which axis we have at the control and which index they have, we look at the HMI of our machine. Here we go to menu select and then to setup. Now we can see all of our axes and spindles on our machine, including their index. In our case, we have 6 axes or spindles, and therefore we have to expand the configuration. When we are finished with it, we can copy the content again and go back to the MindSphere. Here we are pasted and click on the Save button. And now we can start the application. To do this, click on the Play button and confirm the dialog. Now you can go to the jobs and then to configure, and you will see that we have a new configuration job. All things we do here are of course also documented. To get the manual, simply click on the book icon in the app management and select the manual in your desired language, and you can download it. When we open it now and jump to the configuration chapter, we also see the part that we have just done. For the next steps, we now open the web UI of our edge device and log in with our credentials. Here we can also see that our device is still being configured. We can use this time to create the required user groups in the mini web UI. We find this part again in the documentation. As you can see, we need 2 user groups. Without, we cannot open the web UI from Analyze MyMachine condition. To create the user groups, we have to open the mini web UI. There, we navigate to security and then to user management. You can see in my case the user groups already exist. This is because I did this at an earlier point in time. But for you, click on the Add Group button, insert your group name, click on the Add Group button again, then click on Save User, and that's it. And now we can switch to the app management, go here to Edge Apps and open the UI from Analyze MyMachine condition. The next thing we have to do now is to make the access settings. To do that, open the navbar and go to the access settings. As you can see, we now have to enter parameter 341 for the respective access, and for that we look at the HMI of our machine again. Here we go to the menu Select, then Setup, then Machine Data, and then to Drive Parameter. Here we can search for the parameter 341. When we have found the parameter, we can enter the value and can go to the next drive with the Drive Plus soft key. So, okay, if it's necessary, you can now change the mechanical type for the linear axis. To do this, simply open the drop-down menu and select your mechanical type. In our case, we have linear motors, and so we don't need to change anything. Then click on Save and the axis configuration is complete. Then we come to the last part of the base commissioning. For this, we will take a look at the manual again. As you can see, it is still necessary to create a global user definition. This is needed to report a status from the NCU to our edge device later when performing the measurements. To set up the definition, we will switch back to the HMI of our machine. Here we go again to the setup area and select the system data. Here we open the NC data folder and open the definitions folders. And we select the SGOD file and create our definitions. When we are done, we can close close the file and activate the definition with OK. In the next dialog, we choose the existing values of the definition files are to be retained because we don't want to override any other variables, and we confirm this with OK. If the activation finished, we find now the variable also at the parameters. For this, go via New Select to the parameters, select the user variables, go to Channel GUD, GUD Selection, and then to our channel specific user variables. And here we see the variable we just created. As you can see, we are in the shop floor for this, and the first thing we do is log in to the UI, and then we navigate to the application. Here we start with Configure and Analyze Measurements to create our first measurement. And we use the Add button to create a new measurement. Here you see two drop-down menus. The first one is for selecting the channel, and the second one is for the axis located in the channel. For the channel, we have no selection because our machine has only one. So we go to the axis selection and select our x-axis. Then we assign a name for the measurement and select the parameters to be calculated. As you can see, the stiffness and the backlash are blanked out, and this assigns we have only one measurement system on this axis. For our example, we take the equability, the friction, the quadrant error, and the signature. Next, we need to specify the distance of the axis for the measurement. For this, the software limit switches can be read, or you can enter your own values. Finally, we have to specify the dynamic for the test of the quadrant error, and then we are done with the basic configuration. Afterwards, you can create a prologue and an epilogue in the Secure Precision tab. This means that you specify here what the machine should do before and after the respective measurement. In our case, we use the mHome function provided by the manufacturer, but you can also use standard and C code. When we are done, we save the rule things, check all again, and can release the measurement. Then we select our created measurement and transfer the measurement program to our SINUMERIK. Please note here that you can only see the measurement program on the Edge network drive if the access level is at least service on your NCU. Okay, then we can go to our machine and go to the program manager, select our network drive and execute the measurement program. And we hear us again when we are finished with that. So we are back, and the next thing we want to do is to create a measurement group. But before we can do that, we first have to reference our measurements. And for this, we go to Configure and Analyze Measurements again. You can see from the status of the measurements that I have already done this for my other measurements, and we only need to do this for our x-axis. To do this, we select the measurement and go to the Measurement Result tab. Here we can set our reference via the pencil symbol, and here we have to set a warning threshold and a service threshold for our measurement values. If you are not sure about the threshold values, it's not a problem, you can always adjust the threshold values afterwards. When we are done with that, we can save it and go back to our measurement list and see that the x-axis is now referenced. Then we can go back to the home screen and select Configure Measurements Group to create our group here. To do this, we press the Add button, then assign a name for our measurement group and press the Add button again to add our desired axis to the measurement group. For our example, we select the X and the B axis and save this again. Then we have to select the group again and release the measurement. And when we have do this, we can now send the measurement group to the SINUMERIK and execute it from there. And we hear us again when we are finished with it. So, after processing the measurement group, we can now see that we have received new measurement values for both the x-axis and the b-axis. This brings us to the end of the second part, and I thank you for your attention and I hope you enjoy using the application.